After you purchase or subscribe to Sola, first allow it to use your location services. It is needed to retrieve the UV index forecast for your location from Apple Weather Services. Next, grant Sola permissions to read and write data to and from the Health app. While it is not required for the correct operation of the app, it enables a richer user experience. Now you have to determine your Fitzpatrick skin type. This is your natural skin color, predetermined by your DNA. The best way to do that is by taking a short skin type quiz and answering 8 simple questions. Accept the liability waiver. In order to track vitamin D production triggered by sunlight, tap on bare skin. Select how much of your skin is uncovered and exposed to the sun. Select your weight and height. This is necessary for the app to estimate the skin surface area for a more accurate vitamin D intake calculation. Do not forget to save these changes. There is a couple more steps left, but take a moment and look at these two numbers. First, vitamin D, with skin type 3 and the maximum UV dose of 70%. We will come back to it a bit later. And 70% of your skin exposed to the sun. If you start your current session now, by the time you're done with it in 17 minutes, your body will absorb enough sunlight to produce about 7,500 IU of vitamin D. Let's do a couple more things. If you already have some level of suntan, let Sola take that into account. Note that the time in the sun increased from 17 minutes to 35 minutes now. It means that suntan provides a certain level of protection against UV radiation, so it extends the time allowed in the sun. Next, set the maximum UV dose. This is the daily UV dose limit that Sola will use to calculate the maximum time you can spend in the sun each day. In this video, for example, with skin type 3 and a minimal level of existing suntan, given today's UV index forecast in San Francisco, and the maximum UV dose set to 70%, you can stay in the sun no longer than 35 minutes. This was the initial setup of Sola. Most likely, you will not have to change these settings for a long while, if at all. Now let's review a couple more parameters that you may have to set up for each session in the sun. If you plan on wearing sunscreen, enter the SPF number of your sunscreen product. Notice that now you can stay in the sun for a much longer time, provided you reapply sunscreen at regular intervals. If you know how long you're going to be in the sun, you can select a specific time by tapping Current Session. Let's say it's 50 minutes. If you plan to regularly change sides, you can make a selection by tapping Flips. Sola pre-computes different options for you based on the session's length. For example, if you want to turn each side to the sun twice, you can pick this option. You'll notice that your UV dose is only 2% now and only 222 IU of vitamin D because of the sunscreen. It may be safe to forgo the sunscreen, so let's remove it. The UV dose is now 65%. We're still under the maximum UV dose of 70%. If you are happy with these settings, you can now start the timer. In order to receive notifications, allow Sola to do so. It will remind you when to flip over, when to reapply sunscreen if you're wearing it, and when it's time to get out of the sun. If your iPhone supports iOS 17 or higher, you will be able to see Sola on your locked screen. Once the session is over, Sola saves it and makes it available in the History tab. You can modify the saved session if needed. If your Apple Watch is equipped with an ambient light sensor and your Health app collects time in daylight data, Sola can adjust the UV dose and vitamin D amount based on that time in daylight records for more precise metrics. If you accidentally forgot to turn on Sola when you were exposed to sunlight, you can save a missed session by using the Start Time Picker control. Change the settings of that session as much as you can recall and tap Save to save it in history. Notice that previous sessions are taken into account when computing your total daily UV dose and vitamin D amount. For example, the user received 3,500 IU of vitamin D and 32% of UV dose in the previous session. If the user starts the current session, they will end up with about 5,700 IU of vitamin D and 51% of UV dose when the current session is over. If you need to change Sola's access permissions to the Health app, open the settings on your phone, scroll down to and tap Health. Tap Data Access and Devices. Tap Sola. Here you can turn on the permissions as needed. While these permissions are not required for the correct operation of Sola, they enable a richer user experience. Most of these settings are self-explanatory, but let me go over a few of them for better clarity. You can enable chimes for Sola's notifications in case you want to distinguish them from other apps' notifications. You can change how often you want to reapply sunscreen. Normally, the recommended frequency is 2 hours, but you may want to make reminder intervals shorter if you are spending time in water or engage in activities that cause excessive perspiration. Always check the sunscreen product's directions for a more reliable reapplication frequency. For flip-over reminders to be more relevant, you can set whether you normally start a sunbathing session on the back or on the stomach. To help improve Sola, feel free to enable anonymous tracking that does not involve collection of any personally identifiable information. Depending on your locale, you can switch between a 12-hour time format and a 24-hour time format, more common outside of the USA. For vitamin D tracking, you can select between IU and micrograms as a unit of measure. If you want to include vitamin D from dietary sources, if you're tracking such intake in the Health app, you can enable it, and dietary vitamin D amount will be included in the calculation of your total vitamin D amount. Finally, you can switch between 3 different themes: dark blue, dark, and light, depending on your preferences.